Robert Drury back again, and once again, I am skipping the Quest 2200 online, and I'm going to cover two games in a recent over-the-board tournament that I played. And in this episode, I'm going to cover rounds 3 and 4, and I'm going to basically dub this Battle of the Generations. I'm a baby boomer, and my two opponents are both Generation Z. So we're going to see, can a baby boomer who is 62 years old, can he go up against some young guys who have fresh brains? But we'll see how this goes. All right. So my first game, I'm going up against Nicholas McVeigh. Nick is a guy at our chess club. I've known him for a couple years now. He usually is around 1800, and coming into this tournament, he was at 1755. And I've played him previously 4 times with a 2-2 record. So, and Nick is a very aggressive player, and he has a lot of confidence. But he has been telling me that the way to handle the Hippo is to aggressive attacking players can handle the Hippo. So I have the white pieces, and I will be playing a Hippo. A lot of people refer to it as a Hippo attack when you have the white pieces. But let's get on with the game. All right, I start off with Nimzal Arson, B3, and I'm just making moves, getting into my Hippo. He brings this knight around, and I play the E pawn because he's played his D pawn up, and this is part of this a little bit aggressive. He puts the bishop out and hitting my queen. So I block with the knight, that's one of our Hippo moves. So I'm not too worried about that bishop move. Actually, I like it when I see his bishop move because it just kind of helps me with my development. Now, if he wants to take, I can just take back, and I've got the bishop pair. Okay, so he doesn't take. He plays his knight around, and I can push it out, and he can drop it back, and I can hit it again. However, he drops it back. I'm going to wait to push because I don't want to push unless I see his queen or his king castled king side. So I just continue with my Hippo. He plays a pawn in the middle, and still working on the Hippo. And I play the A pawn, and I'm waiting. I'm wanting him to castle, and he castles. So now that he's castled, I hit him with the pawn move, and he backs up. And now I'm going to bring my bishop out, and the intent is to try to start bringing the knights over here. And if he was to push, I would lock the position and have a potential knight into f5. But now this is aggressive move. He's wanting to open it up, but this is in fact a blunder because it loses a pawn. Now he can get the pawn back, but it's at a cost. All right, so I push G. He drops his knight back, and I win a pawn. All right, so he comes down, and it's like, all right, so I haven't won a pawn. He gets the pawn back, but I have basically the 2 bishops, and my pawn structure will soon become better. And part of the issue is his queen is subject to attack now. Right, so I immediately hit the queen. He drops back, and now I got some different moves I could play. I played my knight to f3, but that wasn't the best move. The best move was just actually bishop going ahead and take back. And then you can play knight to c3, you can play, or knight to c4, you can play knight to c3. You've got different moves you can play. But right here, white's already better. He does not. White does not have the bishop here, but the pawn structure is weak for black, and his king is staring down an open file. All right, but that's not what I play. I play knight to f3, which isn't as good. It still keeps the advantage. And he brings his knight around. Now this was a blunder because now I can win a pawn. I just take, he takes. And here I was so focused on getting this knight over here and attacking here that I make a blunder. It's like that was just, I mean, it's still, I'm better, but I mean, just take and win a pawn. I mean, you're going to take the bishop off the board, you hit this pawn, but if he takes, you just take back, and the position is just much better for white. However, I went knight to h4, planning on hitting the bishop. Now the knight ends up getting stuck for quite a while in this game, and it actually could have been, I could have lost this game simply because of placing my knight over here, because the knight is stuck for a long time. All right, he pushes. All right, here I could have brought it right back out. I'm sorry, not that. I could have brought the other knight. I could have brought this knight around. And now, let's say that he just, oh, I don't know. Let's say he, could make different moves. I mean, he could come down to g5. Knight just comes back out. Knight goes back in, and then knight takes e5. All right. Let's see, where did I actually play? But I see the rook lined up against my queen, and I'm thinking, all right, I got to do something about that. I don't like it. So I just move my queen away, which now I'm just starting to go in the wrong direction. He pushes a pawn, and once again, I could take, he takes back, and then I could actually move knight to f. And he's got to bring his, let's say, bring his queen down to here. And then I've got choices. I can push here. I can take the bishop off, and I'm in a much better situation. And let's see, how did we actually go here? I took. He played the pawn, and I'm going down the right path, but this was not the path. I closed it up. I could have just played my knight here because, you know, he's pinned. But that's not the path I went. I pushed my pawn, and now he pushes the bishop. I'm sorry, the pawn. All right, so once again, I've still got the knight move. Once again, I don't take it. I push the pawn, and now his bishop is hitting my rook. And here the engine still likes the knight move. Now, I didn't play that. I just didn't want to give up the exchange. Now, however, if I'd have played the knight move, moves his queen away, and I can actually block knight at e to d4, and I can actually block with the knight. But I didn't see that. and I played my pawn up. And I am slowly losing the advantage. And he finally gets out of the pen. I bring my queen up, and now what I've done is I'm setting up another issue with his bishop staring at my queen. All right, he moves his bishop away, and now I play knight to d4. He moves his king or his rook over, and I castles to plan on if he takes, I will take back with the rook. He takes, take back with the rook, and now he saw some tactics here. He took my pawn or my knight. I take back, and he takes, and I just missed the fact that. Let's see. If I take, and I'll show you. If I take, all right, let's say, well, I can't take because he's got me. He's got the pin going, so he just ends up winning a pawn. So now we're looking at. I've got 6 pawns. He's got 6 pawns. He's got the bishop. I got the knight. However, I'm still good. All I have to do is bring my knight down and try to get it reactivated. And let's say, all right, just saying, all right, so what happens if he just decides, well, I'm gonna push here and pin the knight? I can just kick it out. I can kick it out because he would have to go back here, and then it allows my knight to come out. So if he didn't go, let's say that he goes right here to keep the pin, then I'm just gonna win the rook. All right. So he plays this rook up, and now I can actually play knight to f4, which is the best move in the position, which is what I played. And what do we got going on here? All right, let's. Oh, that's not what I played. I was on a different thing. All right, so he takes. I move my king away, which was a waste of tempo. So basically, what happened here is I did not play the knight move. I wasted tempo by moving my king away, which was just not a good move, because now I've got both the king and the queen lined up against the bishop. All right, he drops back, and now I come up. I figure I'll hit the rook, and everything is just going south for me. Okay, I know. All right, if I take, he's going to take and double his pawns, or he's going to take here, and I'm starting to get in a lot of trouble. All right, I drop back, and he brings his queen. He wants to take, and here, basically, rook to g2 or rook to g3 was a better move than me taking. He could have actually got the big advantage back if he would have taken with his pawn. He did not. Took this queen. So now I finally moved my bishop off of the h4 square. He takes a pawn, and now I am down a pawn, but valuation's only got it minus 0.19. If I can get the queens off the board, I figure, all right, I got a good chance, because he does have an extra pawn, but he's got them doubled, and then he's got 2 isolated pawns. Okay, let's go back. All right, he comes down. He's going to attack my knight. I come down, defend it, and he brings his bishop out. Now, all right, I got my knight. My knight's finally out, and it's guarding this pawn. He comes back over, and he's hitting here. He's starting to come in for check. I play the only move, which is to defend both squares. All right, he starts to activate his king, and right here, the engine basically has it as even. But it won't stay that way for long. He pushes the pawn, and basically what I should have done is push the pawn and get it off of the light square. Did not do that. Moved my king, and now he's pushed his pawn. And now I've got a problem because the bishop attacks the pawn. I bring my queen up. Hopefully it will trade out. He doesn't want to trade out. All right, I hit the queen again. He drops back, and here I take, and that was basically could have been a losing blunder because now he comes in, and I have to trade queens, and he is just winning because now he can come over and attack the pawn. All right, I'm trying to get my king over to the king side of the board in order to keep the pawn from pushing down the board. But I know I'm in trouble here. I play my, or he takes the pawn, and now I play my queen to e2. The engine actually wants you to get the knight out of the knight down. But right here it's almost -5. All right, so I bring my king over, and I'm thinking, all right, so if he comes here, I can actually drop in, and I will probably put my king on e2, hoping to entice him to give me a check. He did not. What he did was he dropped back here, and this one is a key move, and that's a blunder. He basically just threw the win away. And I suppose he was thinking, you know, he could hit this, I would move it, or if I take, he's just bringing this pawn. But problem he has is, all right, I take, he takes back. Now my king can get over and get the pawn out. And at this point, it should be a draw. Key point here is if this king was to walk itself over, it cannot come down and get into my position because I've got, let's see, I've got these 4 squares covered. So he cannot get into the position. All right, so he decides he's going to go over to the queen side of the board. But like I said, he can't get in. And he's going that way, and I'm just going to take the pawn off. And he realizes that he's got to stay over here in order to keep me from taking his pawns out. All right, so I take the pawn. He moves his bishop up. And I bring my king up. And now I'm winning. I got a better position. It's just a matter of time to put him in a zugzwang, basically, and take out some of these pawns. And the other issue is I can always create a passed pawn over on the queen side of the board. All right, so he pushes his pawn, and now the engine actually wants you to take it. I didn't take it. I just dropped my king back, and I threw a lot of advantage away. He takes, and I take back, and now it's still got the issue. He can't come in on this side, and I will go through the last few moves because eventually he's got to give up these 2 center pawns. All right, he pushes the pawn down the board, and now I can actually come back in here. But what I did was I pushed my pawn, and now I've got a passed pawn. He's going to go take care of the passed pawn, and I'm coming down, and I'm just going to take his pawns out. And at this point, I can just start walking, escorting my pawn up the board. And it comes in here, and I am going to queen the pawn and win the game. So that is game 1, and it is Boomer 1, Gen Z 0. So now we will get on to my next game. My next game is against Caleb Wilson. He's rated 1841. I have played him twice, won one, lost one, and this will be the third time I played him. And I know he plays the London. He played the London against me about a month ago, and I played the Hippo, and I beat the London with the Hippo. So he was well aware that London may not be the way to go. But he has white pieces. Plays d4, plays knight, so I'm thinking, all right, he's going to play London again. He doesn't. He basically is going to field and shadow this bishop. So I'm going to continue with my Hippo setup. And now he plays the C pawn move. And he's got more of it. It's a queen pawn opening. All right, so I'm continuing with the Hippo, and he brings his bishop down, which, as we see before, I can always push and cause problems. I'm going to bring my knight in to protect first, protect my queen. All right, he's just continuing this development. I bring my bishop up, and now he's got 3 pawns across the center. He's got a big center, and I'm just going to push the bishop out. And he decides he's going to give up the bishop there. So I take. All right, so now he's hitting the pawn. All right, so I'm thinking, what do I do? Do I come back and defend? And I thought, no, I'll ignore it, because I saw that if he takes the pawn, if I come over and hit here, I can eventually win this C pawn back. All right, so I castle, and he doesn't take it, because he's also looking at the fact of he's looking at this pawn. The bishop is on this pawn. He doesn't take it. So now I hit him. I push the knight. Now I push the knight out. If he takes, he's basically just going to lose the knight, because the knight gets trapped. All right, he drops his knight back out, and now I play c5. I'm going to break up the middle. He pushes, and here I play d5. However, the engine likes e5. This is a scary move for a human, though, because you're looking at the rook bearing down on you. He takes with the knight. I take back. He takes, and I've got to defend, or block rather. He takes. I take, and here's the issue. So let's say that he pushes here. I can give a check, and then let's say he takes. I take back. He takes, and I end up winning, going up the exchange. But I did not take. I played the pawn, e5 up, and now he dropped back. He brought us bishop over. Going to hit the knight. I bring my knight up, as I didn't want to lose that knight, and now he brings his queen in, and he's going to attack this pawn. All right, he's attacking the b6 pawn. So I'm looking at it, and I thought, you know what? I could just let him have it and set up some attacks on his queen. So I bring my rook over. I'm thinking, he's not going to take the pawn. I mean, maybe he does this, but he's not taking the pawn. He takes the pawn. So now I take the d5 pawn out, and he brings his knight down. I take it, and I'm also hitting here, and my rook's hitting. So he takes the other pawn. Now I hit him again, and he comes over and plays his queen to c6, which allows, and I saw this before, it allows the knight to hit the queen with tempo and then come in and hit these 2 rooks. All right, so I'll play that. And at this point, I'm just got a much better game. And here the engine likes the queen to go up to F6 and not exchange. However,
it was so unbelievably odd.
I exchanged. He took back, and now I hit the two rooks, and he pushes. He pushes the pawn. Gets a tempo there. Sorry, so which rook did I take? Did I take this rook or did I take this rook? Well, the engine actually likes knight to A. I took the other rook, and my thinking was, all right, if he takes back with the rook, then he's got to spin a tempo to get his rook back. If he takes with the knight, then his knight's further away from the action. So that's why I took the E1 rook. Here, the engine actually says that white is slightly better. Actually, it's got it pretty much even. All right, I'll bring my rook up to stop his pawn from going any further. Brings this rook over. He's going to hit my pawn. However, I can set up a pin here. So now if he takes, I'm going to just bring my rook here, and he's going to lose his bishop.
That's how it works.
All right, so I play that, and he brings his bishop over. And here I play the F pawn up is I'm wanting to take the F pawn, open up a file for my rook. He's going to protect. All right, I bring my bishop up. Now, the whole purpose here is I'm trying to reroute my bishop over here and possibly here. Okay, so he brings his knight around. And I bring my king up just to get it closer to these pawns here. He brings his knight down. It's coming into here. And the engine actually says, go ahead and take. He's got to take back. But for whatever reason, I'm thinking I need the bishop right here. I bring my bishop over, and I'm thinking, all right, well, maybe if I get the knight off the board, I'll be better. He won't let me do that. Instead, he hits me with tempo. I drop back, and now he's protecting. But here, I'm still just winning. And now, what I do is I'm try to get the bishop over here before I take. And according to the engine, it really wouldn't matter. I could have taken here. Yeah, let's see, takes back this direction. Rook at B, rook goes to B8, and he's going to drop the pawn. Well, he can do this. He could play there, and then my rook to B4, and one of these two pawns will fall. All right, but it's not what I played. I just played this way. I am going to hit this, and he blocks, and now I take. All right, so now my bishop can get in, and which it does. He comes over, and now my rook comes in, and I am winning the game. I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to take both these guys out. Take the first Gen Z guy out, and I'll take the second Gen Z out. That's what I'm thinking. And I see, at this point, I see that I could bring a rook in here. I could come over and take here, and basically, I've got a pretty good game. And let's see, well, actually, it's his move at the moment. He plays his rook over, and here, if I play my rook over, I've got an easy game. It's not what happened. If I played the rook over, I can take, and if he pushes the pawn, I just hit him with a check, come over, and now I can get behind his pawns. He pushes, but I can actually get in behind the pawns. And basically the game would be over at this point. However, what I did was I took first. And that was a mistake because that allowed his king to get over and get to the queen side of the board. So that was mistake number one. I come down and I'm thinking, all right, I start taking these pawns out. And he's going to push his pawns. So now I get to looking at it, and I'm thinking, you know what? He pushes the pawn, then he can bring his knight, or bring his knight into here, then bring his knight into here, and he's starting to escort his pawns down the board. And I start to get worried. Actually, was nothing to worry about. I could have actually just went ahead, and I thought I could play this. He comes to d3. I take. He goes knight to c1. And I could actually bring my bishop in. And, well, let's see. It keeps him out of here, keeps him out. So he pushes. I can... Actually, at this point, I could even go back to rook to f2 and slide back down and defend. Well, hold on a second. Okay, let's get back. All right, now get back to where I was at. And it's just I'm basically winning the game if I play that right. But I also saw, and I saw that I could come this way, but I also saw that I could, I could take here, and figured I could stop the pawn, and I started down that path. He moved the pawn, I took it again, and he plays this knight over. And here I get, I ended up mixing my positions, but here I could actually even win the game by playing the h5 pawn. And it goes into, he brings his knight around. Now he can escort it down the board, but I'm starting to push my pawn. But now when he comes here, I just drop back. He brings his knight over to protect, and he's going to queen. But believe it or not, I can let him queen and still win the game. Of course, this is a computer line. Not very likely to find that line. And it would go like this. That's how this line would have won. All right, so let's go back. All right. So I see this. I give him a check, and I'm thinking, all right. And in my mind, he was going to bring his knight to here, because in the other line, when my rook was here, the knight was coming here. And when I played this move, I still had in my head he was going to bring his knight to here. And at this point, I'm not in bad shape. I can actually, let's see. He goes king to e3. I could go back to rook to f8, and I'm okay. But it's not what I do. I take the pawn, thinking, all right, he's got to come here. And I said, what am I thinking? He's just going to push the pawn. And at this point, I've lost. That was my senior moment. My senior moment. That's what Jerry calls them. I had a senior moment. I took the pawn and I threw this game away. And I actually liked the way the game was going up until that point. And that was a rough one. And the sad thing was I had plenty of time on my clock,
Oh, okay.
but I got in my head that, you know, I still had this, but I had already taken pawns over here, so his pawn was further down the board. I basically mixed my systems. But let's go back and I'll show you the original. And I looked at this. I looked at this line. I looked at the line and I thought, all right, I could win going this route. But I thought taking the pawns would have been easier, but could have just won going this route. And I get behind his pawn. He pushes, and here, if he takes, I'm going to just take, well, actually, I'll probably take this direction, because then I always got this pawn with a rook here, and he can't ever come in and attack it. Which, it's just, it was not a good game. It was, well, actually, I liked the way I played the game up until that senior moment where I blundered. But with that, I finished the tournament with 2 wins, 2 losses. Baby Boomer, the Boomer generation was 1 win, and Gen Z was 1 win. So, with that, I will see you on the next video.
It would be insane.